This video accompanies Chapter 5, which is over vendors, purchases, and inventory. The QuickBooks commands for this chapter really begin on page 5.8, other than restoring the Chapter 5 backup file, which comes on the CD in the back of your text, or which you can download from the internet. I've already restored the backup files, so in the icon bar, I'm going to go ahead and click on Vendors in order to bring up the vendors area. On the left-hand side, I can see the vendor list, and it displays each vendor and the balance that I currently owe to each of the vendors. Whichever vendor is selected on the left, I'm seeing more information about that vendor on the right-hand side. So this is very similar to the Customer Center, but obviously these are people I owe, not people who owe me. I want to go ahead and add a new vendor, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the New Vendor button up toward the upper left-hand corner and choose New Vendor. And a box will open up very similar to how I added a new customer. It's very important, though, that I do distinguish whether I'm in the customer area or the vendor area. In this case, my new vendor is Colby Window and Door. And this is on the bottom of page 5.9. That's the vendor name. The company name is also Colby Window and Door. The name of my contact is John Colby, and I've got a couple phone numbers for him here. Looks like that's a mobile. And a main email address. Colby@windowdoor.com. I've got an address for him, so I'm going to come down here underneath. With his current name, I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and then what I already have in there for the company name, and then I'm going to go ahead and type in the address. 58 Chartres, Bayshore, California, 94326. If that's where they ship from, I can copy it over here to the shipped from address in the same way that with a customer I could copy it over to the customer or the ship to address. The window itself has multiple tabs, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Payment Settings. When I pay this customer for my internal or my account number with that customer is 58101, and my terms with that I said customer, but I meant vendor. My terms with that vendor are net 15. And when I do pay him, what do I actually want it to say on the check? There are times where you would want it to be varied a little bit on the name, but in this case we want it to be the same thing. Under the tax settings, this is going to go ahead and tell me the vendor tax ID. And I'm going to check whether or not the vendor is eligible for a 1099. And so what that means is if I've spent a certain amount of money with that vendor, I may need to issue a 1099 to that vendor at year end as part of my taxes. Under additional information, or additional info, what type of vendor is he? He supplies me with materials. After I've entered all the information in about the vendor, I'm going to go ahead and click OK, which will return me to the vendor list. If I wanted to, I could, from here, export this vendor list to Excel or to Word. And that's good to know because that lets you know that I could prepare letters to my vendors or dump them all out in order to do some type of a mailing to my vendors, etc. You don't really need to worry about that for purposes of our exercise. When you're done, you're going to go ahead and close the vendor list, which should take you back to the home menu. The vendors area is up here across the top, and I'm going to start off and I'm going to go, I'm starting off, I'm up to page 5.3. They want us first to look at the items. That's over here in the company area, so they want us to go to items and services, and we're going to get a list of all the items that we maintain in our inventory. We're going to go ahead and add a new item. I could do that by right-clicking and choosing New, or down here in the bottom left-hand corner is where I'm going to see the button that allows me to actually choose New. Then a new item box is going to pop up, and I'm going to put in a new inventory part. So in my drop down here where it says Service, I'm going to go ahead and select Inventory Part. And then I have to take the time to fill in everything about that item. These are bifold doors. This is all on page 516. It's a sub-item of my wood doors. My manufacturer's part number is BD42. My description is a bifold interior door. That's what I want it to look like on my purchase transactions. And that's what I want it to look like on my sales transactions. Notice when I press tab, it automatically filled in. My cost is $45. When I buy one, I want it to go to the cost of goods sold. My preferred vendor for bifold doors is Colby Window and Door. When I sell one, it's going to go on the sales transaction as a bifold interior door. I'm going to sell it for $70. It is taxable, and when I sell one, the income from it is going to go into account number 40140, materials income. When I have them in stock, I'm going to keep them in the asset account of 12100, inventory asset. Anytime I have less than 2 on hand, that's my reorder point. Currently, I have none on hand for a value of nothing, and that is as of today. I'm going to go ahead and click Next in order to record that inventory item. Oh, it's running a spell check, and I did spell bifold correctly, so I'm going to go ahead and just ignore. So I added that item, but I have another inventory part on page 517 I want to add. Excuse me, bottom of 516, top of 517, and that's the doorknobs for these bifold doors. Again, it is an inventory part. It is the bifold knobs, and this is going to be a sub-item of hardware. It has a manufacturer's part number of BK36. My description on purchase orders is going to be bifold door hardware. That is also going to be my description on sales transactions. The cost of one of these is $6. When I sell them, when I purchase one, it's going to go into the cost of goods sold, and my preferred vendor is again Colby Window and Door. When I sell one, I will sell it for $10. It is taxable, and when I sell it, the income will actually go into 40140, materials income. When I have them on hand, I will store it in my asset files, my assets as 12100, an inventory asset. Anytime it falls below 2, I'll need to reorder, and I currently have none on hand. Those are the only 2 new inventory items, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that, which takes me back to the inventory list. Similar to when I added other things, it may or may not. It looks like this one did go into the correct spot for me, but I do have the ability to simply right click and choose resort if necessary. And okay, let's start coming down here to the item menu. There we go, and choosing resort list. When I click OK, then that's going to make sure that everything on that list is back to alphabetical order. If you ever need to print the item list, you can do so from reports here by just clicking on the drop down next to reports and choose item listing, and that's going to be your item listing report, which you would save as a PDF. Notice on here it's showing me the cost and the price, the sales price that I plan to sell it for. The other report that I have is the price list. This one would show me this price I sell it for, but it would not show the cost. So that might be something that I might have my salesman take out into the field with them, just that price list. Okay. I'm done with the item listing, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. And in my text, I'm going to jump all the way up to 519, and we're going to take a look at purchase orders. Purchase orders are in the vendors section, so I'm going to go ahead and click on purchase orders, and I'm going to make a new purchase order in order to purchase 6 of the bifold doors from Colby Window and Door. So I fill in the vendor, and I could create choose a different template if I wanted to. That would be under the custom template, or I could actually modify that template, which your textbook does. We're not going to worry about it. And I'm going to but then ultimately come down and select an item to be purchased, and this is going to be the wood door bifold doors, and it's automatically filled in the description. I need 6 of them, so I'm going to tab over to the quantity for 6. It knows that they're at $45 each, and notice it's extended that amount out all the way to $270. I'm going to go ahead and create another purchase order, this time I'm going to create one from Patent Hardware Supplies. And again, I could use a different custom template if I needed to, but this time the item I'm going to purchase is the bifold knobs. So hardware, oops, click that down arrow here. Bifold knobs, automatically filled in the bifold knob hardware description. I need 6 of those at $6 a piece, so that's $36 that I would be paying to for that purchase order. From here, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and do a preview of the purchase order. It does not like the word bifold at all. And the purchase order would look like this. However, from here I do also have the option to print save as PDF, so that I'm just saving that purchase order off as a PDF. Once you're done, you're going to go ahead and click save and close. So to recap, first we created the vendor, and then we went over to our inventory items and we said these are the items we keep in inventory, these are the preferred vendors. We could do that because we had already created the vendor. Now we decide that we want to buy some of these bifold doors and have them in stock. So we created a purchase order. That purchase order means once everybody's approved it, that we can actually call and order the doors. So we've done that. Now the inventory show up. In other words, the doors we ordered have showed up. So in the vendor section, I'm going to go to receive inventory. There we go. Notice that this one is a drop down, and actually I have two choices. Did I receive the bill with the items, or did I only receive the items? For the first example, we received the inventory. We have not yet received the bill. So it should open up to an item receipt, and then I'm going to go ahead and tell it who it is that I received the items from. Colby Window and Door. Open purchase orders exist. Yes, I want to receive against the open purchase orders. So this open purchase orders window opens up. And if I had multiple purchase orders for the vendor, they would show up here. I simply check the purchase order that I received inventory against. I only have one, so I'm going to check it and click OK. Then it automatically fills in that it was a bifold interior doors, 6 of them, etc., etc. Turns out I only received 5 of them. 1 of them was back ordered. So in my received, I'm going to go ahead and change that quantity of received from 6 to 5. The date that I actually received them was 12/22. So I'm going to come back up here to my date and change it to the 22nd. And my total, there was freight. So what I'm going to do then to record the expenses is I'm going to go ahead and click on the expenses tab. So these are the items. I'm going to come over here to expenses, and I'm going to go ahead on account number 54520 is my freight and delivery, an amount of $35 in freight charges. If I wanted to, I could write that in there, but I think the account name is pretty specific in this case. Okay, and I need to click that recalculate button, because once I've added that $35 in, I've gone from a $225 to a $235 for a total of $260. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and New. And then I also received all 6 of the door handles from Patent Hardware Supplies. This is on page 5.23. Patent Hardware, existing purchase order exists. Yes, I want to use it. I'm going to go ahead. Whoops. Let's try that again. Patent Hardware. I'm going to go ahead and select the purchase order. I'm going to go ahead and check it off and click OK. It automatically came in for a total of $36. There's no additional charges on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and save and close. So I created the purchase order and ordered the items. Now the items have actually shown up. I think I forgot to change the date. So I'm going to go back to my receive inventory without bill, and I should be able to use these arrows and go backwards. And no, because I have it set to use the previous date, it did default in as 12/22. So I know that's fine. I can go ahead and reclose that window. Okay. So now I actually Remember those two items I received without the bill. Now later I actually get the bill in the mail. So I've already logged the items into my inventory. I know I have them, but I haven't gotten the bill for them yet. Now the bill comes and I have to apply it against and make sure that I have received the items that I've now receiving a bill for. So I'm going to go ahead, go to the Enter Bills Against Inventory, and that should open up here for me to select an item receipt. And I'm going to select the vendor of Colby Window and Door, and I see that that item is there. I'm going to click OK, or it's the only one I have, so I click OK, and that's going to take me into the Enter Bills window. And I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I must have done something wrong there. Colby Window and Door. Select the item receipt. I didn't select one. There we go. I'm going to select that one and click OK. And that should take me into the bill window. Similar to the picture on page 522. I actually received the bill on December 22nd. That date is there. The amount due of $260 should agree. It does say that I owe $260, so I'd look on my actual paper and see, yep, $260. I can go ahead and click the Next button to advance to the item receipt. Oh, this time because I used the arrows rather than saving, it's going to actually pop up and say this transaction changed. Do you want to save it? Yes, I do. So that then took me to the other one, the patent hardware supplies. In this case, right now this is my item receipt. I believe I can right click on it and actually choose that I have now to tell it that I've now received the bill. Oh, excuse me, it's not a right click, it's just the checkbox, bill received. Notice how this immediately changed from item receipt to bill, and all the information is still there. Again, if I simply use the arrow, it tells me that it has changed, and it brings me to a new blank bill or an empty bill. So both of those bills have now automatically, the amounts have automatically gone into my accounts payable account balance. Another way that I can do this, what if I receive a bill that has nothing to do with inventory? Whoops, got out of order, sorry. I'm going to pay the bills. So now I have had two bills come in. I'm going to go ahead and choose Pay Bills. It's going to show me all the bills that I've entered and that are waiting for payment. And I'm going to go ahead and find the bills for Colby Window and Door and for Patent Hardware Supplies. Here, notice that the date is the due date. So here's my patent hardware supplies. Here's the $36 one. So I want that one I want to pay. And then I also want to find the Colby Window and Door. Oh, here it is for $260. That one I want to pay. So I have checked off those two bills. Normally you would pay the bills that are due first. I understand that, but for purposes of this example, we're going to go ahead and pay those two bills. From there, you could go ahead and tell it how you're going to pay those bills. Your default payment method is check. Okay, so you can see here that that's your default. You could pay it by a credit card or through some type of an online bank payment, but we're going to pay it by check. We'd want them to actually be paid on 12/23, so we're going to go ahead and choose one day later. And to be printed is selected. What account number you want it to come out of would be your checking account, but if you needed it to come out of a different one, you'd want to change the account number there, and when you're all done, you simply choose Pay Selected Bills. Actually bring me up to a payment summary, and from here I could print the checks, I could pay more bills, or in this case I'm done. I don't need to actually print the checks. Sometimes I receive the inventory with the bill. So I receive in this case I previously purchased some decking lumber. When it came in, the bill was with it. So when I go to receive inventory, I'm going to say with bill. This is very similar, but notice that instead of the item receipt, I'm on the bill itself. In this case, I received it from Wheeler's Tile. And there is an open purchase order, and this is coming off of purchase order 6234, so this one. And notice that it's decking lumber pallet quantity, 144 of them, etc. It looks like I did receive all of them, or I'm assuming that I did. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Save and Close. So I've now entered the bill for those pallets. Sometimes you receive a bill that has nothing to do with inventory, for example, a water bill. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Enter Bills, but this is never going to be associated to any actual inventory. In this case, I received from Bayshore Water. It's my water company. This bill is dated 12/24/2017. It has a reference number. If there was an invoice number on the bill, I would put that in there. The amount of the water bill this month is $36. The terms are net 30. That's what they always are. The account that I'm going to put this payment or this bill into is against the water utility, so 65130. Again, for the full $36, so everything has filled in, and I simply save and close. Those are bills that are those more general overhead, not attached to any actual inventory. Another thing that I may need to do with vendors is I may need to manage my sales tax. I'm going to go ahead and click on Manage Sales Tax to open up a window up to page 5.33 now. When I pay the actual sales tax, I'm going to pay it from my checking account, so I want to make sure that I have attached the right account. I'm going to go ahead and pay the sales tax, and I want it to come out of my checking account. I want to pay this on 12/31. It is going to then show me the tax due through 12/31. There you go. And then I'm going to go ahead and check the box for this to be printed. These are the 3 different taxes that I've currently collected. I've collected some for the city of Bayshore and some for the State Board of Equalization, but it looks like a couple different counties that I've done that for. I'm going to go ahead and check all 3 of them because I want to pay all of them. So I'm going to pay a total of $976.24. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and close. And that way that check will also be there waiting for me to print. Let's come ahead and come back into the vendor center and take a look at, once again, now that we've done a variety of things with Colby Window and Door, let's go ahead and take a look at them through the vendor center. So I'm going to come down and find them, and I'm going to go ahead and right click on top of them, and I should be able to choose View as Report. Excuse me, I guess it's the specific bill payment over here they want me to right click on and View as Report. That's going to open up a transaction report for that bill payment specifically. And if I needed this, I would save it as a PDF. I just wanted to demonstrate it to you, so I've seen it. I'm going to go ahead and close that. It takes me back to the vendor information, which I'm also going to go ahead and close. And before we end this chapter, let's take a real quick look at what type of reports are available that might help us out as we work with vendors. So I went ahead and clicked on the reports word over in the icon bar on the left hand side, and I'm going to choose the category of vendors and payables. One of the first reports that we would look at would be in the same way that we had an accounts receivable aging, we would have an accounts payable aging report. This is going to show me those bills that I have owed the longest. So I'm going to go ahead and find that accounts payable aging, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. And it's going to show it to me for today, and I want to see it for 12/22. So I'm simply going to change my date range here to December 22nd. And it should show me that I have $3,459.20, yep, right here overdue. Yep, and that is correct. So this shows me that I have most of my bills are current, but I do have one that's in the 1 to 30 day overdue, so that would probably be the priority bill to pay. Okay. And I hit refresh here. That did change this to December 22nd, which is the date range that the author was looking for. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Takes me back to the report center. Let's look for a report under the purchases that is the open purchase orders. So I changed my category to purchases, and now I'm looking down through here for one called open purchase orders. Okay, after I've clicked on purchases, I should be able to find one called open purchase orders, and I'm going to go ahead and run that. And just as an example, we want to run it for all, and this is showing me all the different things that I have on order that I'm currently waiting on, that I've used a purchase order for to order. Again, I could save it as a PDF if I wanted to. Another set of reports that I might look at that have to do with vendors and inventory would be under the category of inventory. The one the author is drawing your attention to is the inventory stock status by item on page 5.39. I'm going to go ahead and run that report, and they want to run it specifically for the date range of 12/22 to 12/22. So you can see here now I'm seeing it only for the single day. I should see 5 bifold wood doors on hand and 1 more on order. So here's my bifold doors. On hand, 5. On purchase order, 1. So I still have 1 more on order. And that concludes chapter